My name is Stephen Warren Pendergrass. I was born in Boulder City, Louisiana. I'm 56 years old. Over the past couple of years, I've had the opportunity to really listen and read a few testimonials. And one of the common threads that I find in most of those testimonials is that it usually starts off with a bad childhood, divorce, abuse, some factor like that. In my story, it kind of starts on the other end of that spectrum. I grew up in a normal middle-class family. Both parents there all the time. My father was a career lifelong police officer. My mom worked in the banking and insurance business most all of her life. I have one brother, one sister. Like I said, I grew up in a normal, typical middle-class family. Made good grades in school. In fact, I graduated as an honor student. Luckily, I was a pretty good athlete in high school, which afforded me the opportunity to go on to college on a scholarship. My addiction really started my senior year in high school. I injured my knee pretty bad, had to have surgery done on it. Afterwards, that surgery, I was given, of course, pain pills, prescription pain medication. And back in the mid to late 80s, doctors were handing out prescription pain medication like it was candy. And I took part in it. Anyway, went on to college. Before my first game there, my freshman year, I tore my knee up again. Same story. Had surgery done. Was given pain medication. And that was really the beginning and the start of my addiction. Needless to say, I lost my scholarship for playing ball, going to college. I came back home. Soon I married my high school sweetheart. Shortly after that, we began having children, had 2 children. Pretty much put the addiction away for many years. Was able to control it myself. I moved out to California after that, lived out there about 3 years. Marriage fell apart, moved back to Texas. Started back to smoking pot. Met another lady, got married to her, had 2 more children. She and I were married for 30 years. During that whole time, I was recreationally smoking pot, hiding it, trying to disguise it, and did a pretty good job of it, actually. I got into trouble, I guess it was back in 2014 with the law. Got arrested, possession, did 2 years state jail, put a strain on the marriage there, came home, and the addiction just continued. In fact, it got worse. I started dabbling into methamphetamines, prescription pain medication, smoking pot, you name it, I did it. Got caught again 2017, the end of 2017. Got arrested, sentenced to prison this time. While I was locked up in prison, my wife had a tragic accident, broke her neck, and left her paralyzed from the neck down. I thought I could beat the addiction, but I couldn't. But I devoted myself to taking care of her 24/7, every day. Put a lot of strain, a lot of stress on me, and I handled it with my addiction. returned back to prison shortly after that, feeling guilty as all get out because I left a wife that couldn't fend for herself to fend for herself. I still carry that guilt with me today. After I was released from prison that time, went back to home, went back to taking care of her. Shortly after that, she passed away. She died of liver cancer at the age of 50. I kind of fell apart at that point. Of course, I went right back to doing what I already knew. And that was doing drugs, selling drugs. Thought that, for some reason I could hide all those pent-up feelings that I had. It just made it worse. It really did. It made it worse. I got rearrested again. This time, it wasn't such a slap on the wrist. They gave me quite a few years to do. For the longest time, and I realized this while I was sitting in prison, waiting to make parole, I felt as though I was committing a victimless crime. And having all that time to think, I realized to myself that it wasn't a victimless crime. There was lots of families that I affected, lots of homes that I broke apart, a lot of marriages that I destroyed by selling them drugs, by just taking part of it. It's hard to explain unless you've gone through it. That the anxiety really got bad then. I didn't know where I was going to go, where I was going to parole out to. And the House of Disciples, I wrote them. They accepted me right away. I'll never forget that day when they come to let me out, and I walked out that gate, and our social director, John Dean, was there to pick me up. Nicest gentleman I could ever imagine, He brought me here. I walked through those doors with loving arms. Really still not knowing what to expect, but I was ready to take advantage of whatever they had to offer me. Well, one part of recovery is to try to make amends for what you've done. In my heart, I would love to be able to go and tell them, that I'm sorry, but I really don't know who all they are. Directly at that point in time, I knew who I was dealing with, but the effects just spread out. You can hurt one person, and it truly affects a multitude of people. And some of them, there's victims that really have no names you can put to it, but they're there.